I feel deep in my bones, deep in my very soul, that the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, might actually be back this year. I'm kind of buying into the hype on them. I am higher on the Cowboys than I've been in a long time. That's for a few reasons. One, they've invested heavily in their offensive line. Sure, they've lost a Hall of Fame all-time great guard. They replaced him. They got a young gun in there. They've got Tyler Guyton at left tackle. Tremendous physical talent who's always going to be a developmental project. Year two, he's going to look great. But most importantly, they have George Pickens, who is going to revitalize that passing attack. Brandon Cooks, forget about him. CeeDee Lamb has a real deal number two playing next to him for the first time in his career. Dak Prescott finally has two elite pass catchers to target on the same team. And with that, I think this Cowboys offense is going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be reminiscent of what they were 2 years ago, near the top of the league in total score. Just throwing it around on pretty much everybody. Certainly throwing it around on any non-playoff teams they face. Defensively, they've added a few pieces. Sure, Mozzie Smith continues to progress. Dante Fowler, big pickup on the outside. But the real strength of this team is their pass defense. Their cornerbacks seem to be mostly healthy going into the year. And if the offense can generate enough points, they can mask this weak run defense Dallas is known for these days and just make teams try and pass their way back into games, which will lead to Micah Parsons getting 14, 15, 16 sacks, Dante Fowler getting in double digits, exceptional blitz packages, exceptional interception numbers from the high-end guys on the outside. All in all, I'm optimistic about the Cowboys. There's been some coaching change. There's some controversy about if Jerry Jones has installed another puppet. If it's another puppet, it's business as usual for the Cowboys. There's nothing to be worried about on that front, in my opinion. But my co-host, no doubt, less optimistic, a little bit bitter perhaps that the Cowboys have ruled over his lowly New York Giants for the better part of our lifetimes. So Tristan, give me the pessimistic approach.
Well, if you're playing the on-paper game with the Dallas Cowboys, like the media does heading into every single season, like their casual fan base does heading into every single season, you probably think they're going to be better. Because they did get another deep threat 1,000-yard receiver whose skill set pairs with CeeDee Lamb quite nicely. Amari Cooper did used to play with CeeDee Lamb, so you kind of completely disregarded that reality.
Well, CeeDee Lamb was a number two and Amari Cooper was on the team, though. Now, he's the one. He's got it, too.
I'm just saying, they have had two elite receivers on the field at the same time with Dak Prescott. That's besides the point and not really important to the point I'm making. They have a deeper backfield than they did last year, drafting Jaden Blue, adding Miles Sanders, adding Javonte Williams. The backfield is going to be better and it's going to be stronger, and the highest paid quarterback in the NFL is going to be back healthy and operating the Cowboys offense. Casuals will look at all of those facts. They'll look at the fact they won 7 games last year and say, oh, we're clearly better in all these places. We are going to win more games, but that doesn't take into consideration the division they're playing in also got a lot better, and it doesn't take into consideration some of the things that they have lost. They lost a Hall of Fame guard in Zach Martin. You hope Tyler Booker is going to be good, but he is still an unknown. You lost defensive depth with DeMarcus Lawrence, Jordan Lewis, Chauncey Golston. You hope Solomon Thomas and Dante Fowler help, but you never know how that's going to affect the defense. And when it comes to the head coaching situation, they probably have the worst head coach in the division. You don't know what you're going to get out of Brian Schottenheimer, first-time head coach. The only reason he got the job is because they didn't get their first choices at head coach, and they couldn't lure Big Mike back, which is what Jerry Jones wanted to happen. So he got a guy he can control, influence the way he wants the season to go, and ultimately, I don't think that's going to pay off. So I think things can get really interesting for the Cowboys if Tyler Booker pans out, if Jaden Blue can take advantage of his elite skill sets and really flash, and George Pickens puts his ego to the side, but I've watched Dallas a lot over recent years, and I just don't see that coming all together, especially when they play in a division with the Eagles, the Commanders, and what I hope is at least an elite Giants defensive line.
Okay, so not going to mention the secondary, the offensive line, the wide receiver, the running back, or the quarterback. You hope the defensive line's good. That's the only thing you're going to note about the Giants. 2 free wins coming from New York straight off the bat. I think they split with Washington, and the Eagles are weird because it seems like always, without a doubt, these teams do not play each other when their quarterbacks are healthy. So it just seesaws back and forth each year. So I'd say 3-3, 4-2 in the division feels fair. So I don't think the division being particularly tough changes my mind. That's about what their record was last season. They really got smoked out divisional play, but they couldn't lure Big Mike back. What type of comment is that? It's like saying, oh, well, the Vikings couldn't lure Sam Darnold back because they lowballed him on the contract, giving him a 1-year deal. They didn't want Mike McCarthy back in Dallas. I don't know where that
hired his offensive coordinator.
They didn't want Mike back in Dallas, saying, oh, they hired his offensive coordinator. They didn't like Big Mike. Big Mike couldn't lead him in the playoffs. Like, what is that coming from? That is a bizarre take. Hall of Fame guard Zach Martin had not been walking through those doors for a while. Average starter Zach Martin had been there the last 2 seasons, certainly the last one. Front half of 2023 was still very good. So that's not that big of a loss. Tyler Booker could conceivably be better than him day one. The George Pickens ego thing, come on. It's easy to be miserable in rainy Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson throwing you ducks. Now he's got a top 10 pocket passer in the league, throwing him beautiful balls, dealing with cornerback 2 attention. Pickens will be just fine. You are taking a supremely pessimistic approach to this, particularly looking at their schedule. It's getting outside divisional play. They get to play the Bears early, which is when you want to play the Chicago Bears with a new head coach, new OC, all that stuff. They get to play the Carolina Panthers, get to play the Jets, get to play the Cardinals, get to play the Raiders. Who knows how they're going to be.
You said
off
Bears,
a bye.
You said Bears, new head coach, new OC. That is exactly what the Cowboys are also dealing with.
Yeah, except the Cowboys have a veteran quarterback who has been there forever, and the Bears have a quarterback who stunk last year. Like, are we going to pretend that's the same situation? Are we going to sit here with our thumbs up our keys and pretend there's not an entirely new offense going in Chicago? Are we going to be this disingenuous? Like, there are a lot of wins on this schedule. Sure, they got to play the Vikings and the Lions late in the year, but then they get the Chargers, who are probably going to be banged up by that late in the season. Like, this is a very winnable schedule. There are 10, 11 wins here waiting for the Cowboys to take them. They're certainly going to be better win-loss-wise than they were in 2024. It's a ridiculous thing to say, unless you think Dak Prescott is just going to get hurt again, and we can play that game with every single team in the NFL.
I don't think Dak Prescott is going, well, I hope he doesn't get hurt again for the Cowboys' sake, but I think when you look at some of the depth they lost along their defensive line, their inability to stop the run over recent seasons hasn't been super addressed with offseason additions. Hopefully, Mozzie Smith, maybe he finally takes a step forward and does what he was drafted in the first round to do, to be a better run stopper, but I still worry for them on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to that.
What depth, by the way, because they got Donovan Ezraku, great draft pick, and they got Dante Fowler. They lost DeMarcus Lawrence. You really want me to be upset DeMarcus Lawrence is no longer on the Cowboys? DeMarcus Lawrence stunk last year.
Is Dante Fowler an elite run stopper?
Was DeMarcus Lawrence
better than Dante Fowler?
No. DeMarcus Lawrence was not a good run stopper in 2024. I'm not going to let you peddle that PFF grade crap on me, man. Sure, Fowler is a better pass rusher. Sure, Ezraku maps out more as a outside linebacker than a hand-in-the-dirt guy, but you cannot try and spin the narrative they lost some great run defenders up front. And frankly, even if they were these great run defenders, how bad the Cowboys' defensive line was from that standpoint in 2024, it may just be time to get some new blood. For some reason, nothing was working.
Dante Fowler is notoriously known for being a good pass rusher, but not as good against the run. So even if you want to make the argument that they are equal, the run defense has been bad. As elite as Micah Parsons is, we know he isn't exactly special against the run. So the point I am merely making is I don't think that is going to drastically change on the defensive side of the ball. I think they have a tougher schedule. Yes, the offense may be better, but because of their division and what their schedule looks like, I don't think the record is going to be as drastically different as it was last year.
Last year, they were dealing with an injured Dak Prescott who was playing through some stuff when he was on the field and missed time. And when he's not there, the Cowboys lost pretty much every game they were playing in. You don't think that changes things in the slightest? You don't think that having a legitimate number 2 wide receiver besides CeeDee Lamb changes anything? Like you've said, okay, the defense stayed the same. If the defense stays the same and this offense gets better, their O-line improves, they build synergy, they get BB and Guyton going into year 2, you don't think that's going to move the needle at all? That does nothing for you?
Well, they won more games with Cooper Rush last season than they won with Dak Prescott. So, I mean,
check that.
No, they won 4 games with Cooper Rush. They won 3 games with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 and 5. Cooper Rush was 4 and 4, I believe. So,
hold on. Cooper Rush came in, played the Washington Commanders when Jaden Daniels got hurt, the New York Giants, free win, the Carolina Panthers with the worst defense in the league. How the hell did they beat the Buccaneers?
With Cooper Rush.
Oh, let me check.
And Dak Prescott beat the Giants, the Browns, and the Steelers, which
playoff
good for
team.
The Steelers.
Let me check that. We've now divulged into a completely different tangent. What led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to losing to the Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys in 2024?
I don't really care because I think the Cowboys are better off with
Dak
Prescott.
They had 3 fumbles, that's what.
The Cooper Rush, but I just merely wanted to say that point was technically wrong that you're bringing up. So.
I am astounded by that. The point still stands, though. They're a much better team playing with a better supporting cast. And Dak Prescott playing hurt is not the same as what we're going to be going into with this Dak Prescott.
I would agree. On paper, adding George Pickens to the offense is a move that should be beneficial because I think his skill set pairs very well with what CeeDee Lamb offers. But it doesn't take into account external factors where we've seen George Pickens not finishing his routes. We've seen his personality be an issue in the locker room. And there's a reason teams did not trade better draft capital to acquire him. So I think that's while on
the
paper,
reason is he's in the final year of his rookie contract and may not re-sign with them. That's the reason.
On paper, the fit is good football-wise, but I think there's a lot of external factors that may lead to it not working, where it gives you more pause.
I think pretty much every wide receiver in the NFL, besides a select few like Justin Jefferson, could have this head case narrative spun about them, like, oh, they don't finish their routes, they're not happy with their system, they're yelling on the sideline, they're fighting their teammates. DJ Moore, Jamar Chase at points has been a little temperamental. Tyreek Hill, who got shipped off to the Dolphins, you wouldn't dream of calling that a bad trade. He had a bunch of character concerns both on and off the field. If we're going to play this game with George Pickens, can we give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe being in a better situation, in an indoor situation on a team which is going to be, if not playoff bound, certainly a lot more competent offensively, and will not just ignore him for long stretches of time in favor of running up the middle for 2 yards? Are we going to pretend like that's not going to make him a little bit happier?
It should make him happier.
But but we're taking the pessimistic approach, saying, well, he's still crazy.
That's just not, I'm saying, but the potential is also there for it to not work out. And it's much larger than just 0.
Yeah, it's not larger than 50, though. I mean, what are we doing there?
It's closer to 50 than 0.
I don't know. I think 33 feels fair, so technically, yeah. But
if you were to say 60-40, I'd be like, okay.
60-40 feels a bit steep. About to hit free agency? No, I'll dial that back down even for. It's like 25%. But then again, I may be giving the great George Pickens, Georgia. He's not an alum. He's not a graduate, surely. Surely he didn't graduate.
You're kind of working against yourself over there.
I think there is no harm in taking an optimistic view on what should be a very fun team. I'm amazed you've not gone after the running back room a little bit more, which to me is the only area of weakness on that offense. Because Javonte Williams isn't great. Miles Sanders was only good behind the Eagles' offensive line. And who's the third guy they got in there now? Jaden Blue.
And
Jaden Blue's probably
Nepo baby.
The Nepo baby. You're a bitter man. 1,500 yards, 2 years in college, but no, he sucks.
He hasn't done anything on the Cowboys, and he continues to be on the roster.
There are plenty of people on plenty of NFL teams who have done absolutely nothing. Relationship to ownership does not
Maybe
prove
he's a vibes
anything.
guy.
He probably is a vibes guy. Deuce Vaughn seems like a nice dude. You're just bitter that Deuce
I haven't
Vaughn
mentioned the running
ran
back.
through the Big 12.
I haven't really mentioned the running back room because between Rico Dowdle and Zeke, it was maybe the worst running back room in football, except for the Raiders. They were pretty bad as well. But I think Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, as weak as I think that pairing still is, it is a much deeper room. It should be an improved room from what last year was. And if Jaden Blue's elite speed pans out and they're able to use him and develop him within the Cowboys offense, there's a lot more in that Cowboys running back room than there was last season.
If Jaden Blue, and we'll learn this more, or we'll hear more about this as time goes on, if he takes over the running back 2 and is fighting for running back 1 reps in camp, that's a really good sign to me. Because Javonte and Sanders are veteran established guys. They should be doing all the little stuff right. If Blue's able to threaten them for their jobs early on, that's a sign he may be a legitimate 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard rusher in the NFL. And if that element of the Cowboys offense manifests, maybe not year 1, but year 2, year 3, then they're really going to be dangerous. Like if they have a good running game, in large part thanks to their offensive line, then they're probably the best offense in football, if not one of the 3 best. Which is a scary thought regardless of how terrible their defense is. Because as bad as they are, they're still better than what the Bengals was last year, and that team almost made the playoffs.
But is Dak Prescott as good as Joe Burrow?
It doesn't matter if Dak Prescott individually is as good as Joe Burrow. The offense was great in 2023, and the offense can be great in 2024, or in 2025. They'll be just fine. Like, what is the Bengals offense number 2 or number 3 in
And
score?
we haven't even mentioned, what if Micah Parsons says something on his podcast that just tears the locker room apart?
What is Micah Parsons going to say on his podcast?
Maybe
that George Pickens didn't graduate from Georgia?
Maybe he claims that a teammate cheated on his wife or something on his podcast, or just casually lets it slip.
They got editors now, so unless it's a live show, your continued war with Micah Parsons over his podcast makes no sense. That's why we're never going to get on that podcast. You are torpedoing our future partnerships.
That has been our thoughts on the Cowboys heading into 2025. Let us know what you think about their offense. What do you think about their defense? What do you think about Brian Schottenheimer? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.